What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a brand new episode of Poppitt's Corner. I have not done one of these in a while. I only bring it out for special occasions, and well, this is the exception to the rule here. I would like to bring on the wonderful Mr. Dennis Ohara. Dennis,
Glad to be here,
thanks so
Tanner.
much for
Glad
coming
to be
over.
here. It's a pleasure.
How you been, man? Before we get started on this,
Good. Just jamming in my bands. You know how it is. Keeping busy.
That's good, man. And obviously, obviously, Dennis and I met pretty much through doing the film, and we
Yes,
just
sir.
had a
Awesome
connection
film.
to. Thank you, sir.
Awesome
Appreciate it.
documentary. I'm going to congratulate on that first.
Appreciate
awesome,
that.
man. Awesome.
So basically, how this is going to be a completely kind of different interview. I don't know if you've
That's cool.
ever done one like this. I would like to do an old school style episode and go through your entire career
All right.
and just learn a little bit about yourself,
That's
musically
cool.
speaking.
That's
and
cool.
We can tell some funny stories and
Yep,
kind of just hang out.
That's what I'm here for.
Okay.
We're going to do that right now.
So when was your first kind of recollections of hearing music for the first time, and what were the bands that kind of did it for you?
Well, like when I first started music was in elementary school. I played flute and saxophone in the school band up until like 7th grade. And then right about then I started hearing Sabbath and shit, you know what I mean? Like I remember I went home with We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll. I put it on my turntable and I was like afraid to even start it because I thought it was all satanic, you know what I mean? It's a trip, man. But yeah, and I started hearing that shit and Aerosmith and stuff, you know? And then when I was 15 is when we first started jamming. And I was like, I graduated in 83, so it was like 81, 80. And Metallica first came out and we were doing house parties playing Hit the Lights and shit, you know? And Four Horsemen and all that shit.
So at the time of the Sabbath record, were you playing any bass at this point? Or did
No,
you,
no. I didn't play bass until I went to my friend's house one time and they were just playing with like his brother's equipment and I picked up bass and then I started jamming with them and I had heard Maiden and they were playing Maiden, so I just kind of played with them by ear. And they're all, dude, you want to fucking play with us? And then he gave me a bass to take home and ever since then I've been jamming.
do you prefer? Have you ever played guitar extensively like you had bass? Or?
Yeah, I play bass. Played guitar, and I was thinking about it, but then it's a whole monster. You know, it's a different monster playing bass, and I liked how bass felt because when you played bass, you could feel the fucking shit. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was in my first band was called Jonah Hexx, and we used to play at the house parties. And I remember borrowing this acoustic combo amp, and it was like fucking 500 watt. And I turned that thing on, dude, and I just rumbled across the floor, dude. And I was like, that's the shit, you know. And the feeling of it was awesome. I thought, you know, bass.
So we'll get to kind of your first inklings with playing around with other types of musicians, but I'm curious for you. You know, you're a different kind of bass player than I've noticed with other bands. Is you almost give out this kind of like I would almost say at this point you said Black Sabbath, like this Geezer Butler kind of style playing, and you moved it into like the speed metal realm, which is very different.
Well, you know, I was way in the cliff, bro. You know what I mean? Like way in the cliff. You know, and like they came and saw us one time in Heretic, and I met him right before he, passed away. And I remember Around the Feet brought him down, and I remember looking on the guest list, and it said Metallica plus how many they want. That open ended, you know, and I was like, "What the fuck is that shit?" Right? And they came in the cliff. They came and saw us, and Ron introduced me to Hetfield, and we talked for a minute, and then I go, "Dude, I want to meet Cliff," and he fucking took me to meet Cliff, and I was like, "Dude, you're the man, dude. I fucking totally admire your playing. You influenced me," and I went on for like 5 minutes, and he looks at me and he goes, "I'm deaf, bro. I can't hear you." And then I go, "Well, so nice meeting you, dude." You know what I mean? But he's the man, dude. Cliff, Steve Harris, and fucking Geezer are my main influences, totally.
So it makes a lot of sense with your tone, though. How did you get that specific bass tone to where it just cuts through the guitars like butter? Because again, in speed metal and whatnot, it's like straight 16th notes, so
Yeah.
it's hard for the bass to cut through. And your note choices, I kind of would like to get into like the influences on how you make the note choices with the riffs that Brian or whoever was presenting the songs to you.
Yeah, like mostly just octave riffs and when I'm filling in the background, I try not, if I'm in a 5-piece band, I try not to get in the way of the guitars. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't riff out until they're either doing harmonies or a lead or something. You know what I mean? I stick to the script. I'm not a very busy bass player, but when it allows it, I get try to go crazy. You know what I'm saying?
So, but it cuts through like so well. I mean, any recording that you're on, I can always tell you're playing for some reason.
Well, it's like weird too because I don't use any distortion. You know, it's like my tone's almost kind of like an R&B tone. You know, like I could take my tone and thumb pop with it and it sounds cool. Hey, how's it going?
So what's up? As we're doing live, so
Nice
Pops
seeing you,
is
brother.
showing in.
I love Pops, by the way.
So, So getting back to your specific playing and even just some of the first equipment. Were you getting equipment at first? Were you kind of doing day jobs and then?
Oh yeah, totally, and buying a bunch of equipment, you know. Yeah, I mean, but all through my shit, I've basically used Gallon Kruger though. You know what I mean? But right now I'm using Mesa.
And depending on the band, does it correlate from band to band on how you change your tone?
You know, a lot of my tone has to do with because whatever bass I have, I always put preamps in them, like the expensive preamps. You buy like $200 preamps. I put that shit in there because they got the active EQs and shit on them. And then like your bass is powerful. Like I could plug into anything and it'll sound like me because it's just like power, dude. You know what I mean?
Well, and even your live tone, it shows through.
Yeah. Well, I have active electronic pickups, and I fuck with my basses a lot. You know.
Now, getting back to your specific journey into music, so you're playing bass about a year or two before you start meeting the guys from the neighborhood, or was it just immediate?
No, I met them, and then that started me playing basses in that. But they asked me to play in the band that first day when I did the main shit with them. They're all here, take this home and learn these songs. And the dude gave me his bass to take home. It's Stu. It was Stu. We used to go by his house all the time, didn't he? Be playing guitar, and we're like, "Fuck, dude, listen to that, dude." You know what I mean? We trip out, and then my friend knew him, so I got introduced to him. And then right when I met him, they were jamming with him already. And then Stu was the one that gave me a Music Man bass. He goes, "Take this home, dude, and learn these songs." And I always just call him up, "Dude, how do you know it's an E?" And he's all, "It's just fucking an E, dude." You know, that's Stu though. But me and him have known each other since friggin' we were 15, bro. You know.
Did your family move out here at first?
No, I lived in the same neighborhood as Stu. And, you know, my grandma, my grandma moved out here from Japan, but we were all like, you know, already here.
Okay, so you were born in Southern California.
Oh yeah, totally, L.A. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
That's why my friends say I'm a banana, like I'm white on the outside and yellow on, you know, because I'm like a white dude, but you can't tell I'm Japanese.
Well, no. Well, I'm just in terms of your family history and coming out here, it's just interesting how everybody comes out here for a different reason.
Yes,
right?
sir.
It could be a job. It could be whatever the case may be. So I was just curious for you if you kind of had a lot of music around the house even before getting the Black Sabbath stuff.
You know, not really, but I really liked Earth. When I was a little kid, I've always liked music. I liked Earth, Wind and Fire, and Brothers Johnson. I liked a lot of the soul stuff when I was young, and that's why me and Stu got along so well. Because when I hooked up with Stu, I remember I tripped out because when we were 15, he moved out of his house to be in a band. And I was like, fuck, that's the shit, dude. You know what I mean? That dude's the man, you know? I remember he worked at like Jack in the Box in the Valley and had his apartment and shit. It was hot though, you know what I mean? And it made me like, that's what made me want to do music. I was like, fuck. And then he broke out, he did a recording with 2 tape decks. And it was just like a jazz thing. He did instrumental, but he was a bass player too before he was a guitarist, you know? And then when I started playing bass, he was just getting into guitar. So that's kind of why I stuck to bass, because me and him playing together was like the shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, to this day, like, when I play with that guy, it's just like, you know, some people you're just, like, connected, man. It's like, we don't even say nothing to each other. We could just fucking get down, you know? And, when I first hooked up with him, he showed me that recording he did by himself, and I was fucking amazed, dude. I couldn't believe it was all him. You know, this is before any of that crap, all the stuff they got now. They just had 4 tracks out then. But I couldn't believe that it was all him. And then I got into recording from that. I got a 4-track. So, like, all the bands I was in with him, I was always recording everybody, including Dave and, you know, all the demos. I recorded all the demos until we'd use Floyd. But, yeah, fucking Stu was the man that got me into the whole thing, you know what I mean?
Now, were you just hanging out with him? I mean, you knew him primarily from the neighborhood. What connected you even before music?
Nothing. We used to go by his house and hear him playing music. You know, we knew he was there. Like, that's a guitar dude, you know what I mean? And then my friend that I was skateboarding with, John McKeegan, who was the drummer for Mossy, and, you know, he ended up being in a lot of bands. He knew Stu from school. So that's how I got introduced to Stu.
Interesting. So, and then you connected obviously musically with the same kinds of bands and him
Yeah.
recording. And
well, it was like weird. He was like in Ozzy and Randy. Like I remember one time we were on his porch and we didn't knock on his door because he was playing Over the Mountain, and he did the fucking solo note for note, bro. And we were just like, fucking dude, like open mouth, like, oh my god. And we hit his door, Stu, fucking, he comes to the door. He goes, "What's up, dude?" And we're like, fuck, dude, that was amazing. We're shaking his hand. He's like, "What the fuck are you guys?" We listen to your shit, dude. That's some practice, bro. Because the solo in Over the Mountain has a whammy shit with the notes with the whammy at the same time. Fucking, he just doing that shit note for note. It's just amazing, man.
And around this time, because I'm curious how the correlation between knowing the people that you're still playing with 30 years into
Yeah.
or whatever, how that influences the writing and again just the chemistry. How does knowing you have the history to kind of answer this is, with you're playing with Brian and Stu and guys that you've known for years and years, but how is that chemistry even before playing with them, just knowing them as people? How does that influence the chemistry of the bands per se that you're playing with them in?
Well, like with the guys in Heretic, I didn't know till Heretic. Like with Stu, like we were like just close friends, like and there's like a bond there. You know what I mean? So like he was like upset kind of when I first joined Heretic because then I wasn't with him in the band after that. You know what I mean? And now he's in it, so he's getting me back. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
But he's in it now, which I'm totally happy for him. You know what I mean? Doing the shit now and making his fucking discography all huge and shit. And yeah, he deserves that. But yeah, first and because when I remember when we were first in the band together, that Jonah Hexx band, we were like all like committed to each other. But then when Heretic hit me up, that was kind of a good opportunity, so I took it.
so describe.
But then we always brought him back in. That's why he's on the record and shit. That's why he's in the circle, because, I'm not going to leave Stu alone. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to bring him in, man.
And around that time, he was probably playing with.
He was playing with, like, Stormer and Dissenter.
Oh.
Yeah, well, like, after we did the Heretic thing, and when I was in Heretic, he got in Dissenter. That's why I helped him. I'm on the Dissenter recording, too. I'm playing bass, and I helped produce that recording.
Right. And again, we'll get to that specific recording, but I'm curious for you at first with Jonah Hexx, just sticking with this era of your career, recording that first demo and whatnot. What did that mean to you just as a musician of having something that was recorded? It's not. It's enough. It's one thing to say, yeah, I play an instrument, I've learned my craft,
yes,
but it's
sir.
kind of another to have it physically, like you can hold it in your hands.
Yeah, we did our first demo, dude, and we actually got lucky. Bill Ward from Sabbath helped us with our first demo. We came in, and he got the drum sound for us. And that's when I first met that guy, and I was tripping because the drummer we were using was friends with him. So he brought him in, and the guy's all, wow, that guy like seems like he uses bigger studios. Like, dude, that's fucking Bill Ward from Sabbath, you dumbass. You know what I mean? They were tripping, and and it came out pretty cool. Like Stu's on it, it's me, Stu, and this guy Mike Bennett, so the guy Dave Good, and it came out cool. And
is that demo? Is that anywhere to be found? As terms
Stu might have a copy of it. He has everything.
But okay, so getting it in your hands, did you start to tape trade at this point?
Yeah, we were managed by this guy Steve DeSisto is managing Heretic, so he was working both of us. That's how I kind of got around Heretic, and then we were rehearsing next to him. So like when I tried out for Heretic, I knew their whole fucking set, dude. You know what I mean? It was like, just let me at it, dude, because I'll get that shit. You know what I mean?
So they heard you in what rehearsal?
Yeah, they already knew me from because I used to hang with Merrick, Merrick drummer, and me and him were like good friends before I was in Heretic. So he kind of got me to audition, and you know what I mean.
And he's the one that brought the guys to see you play live with Jonah Hexx, if I'm not.
Oh no, we just opened for Heretic.
Okay, so that's how they saw
at the Waters
you.
Club, yeah. And I knew him all. I knew him just from practicing next to him, and I was friends with Merrick, so I was always around Merrick, and I was hanging out. I was like groupie, Heretic groupie.
So, but it's interesting your specific neighborhood. I would like to get into this more.
Why all these people are in this one little area?
It's amazing. I'm going to name off some bands I believe that are in just the approximate vicinity here. Is MX Machine, Heretic, Armored Saint. Help me out here.
Well, I mean, you got to break it down into subdivisions of LA, right? Because if you just go towards like our little area, like we're Heretic. We had Heretic, and all those bands from the Waters Club were from like that area, South Bay, and then like the Valley was like MX Machine and Abattoir, and all those heavy bands like there's a bunch of them I can't even think of an offhand, but because we used to play the country club every week almost, you know what I mean?
Agent Steel,
Bloodlust, Agent Steel, Juan, Agent Steel, fuck all those dudes, man. I mean, they all smoke, you know what I mean? Like, and that whole scene over there was just killing it, because that's how I was friends with Joe Floyd, and that was like North Hollywood, Warrior. Everyone recorded at Silver Cloud. I worked at Silver Cloud for like a year and a half. When like Dickinson went through there and stuff, and yeah.
So and that was primarily because you knew how to record even.
Well, that's where I learned. When I got my 4-track shit up to where I couldn't learn no more, Joe let me work here, and he let me work there for like a year and a half. I was sweeping and shit, but I was working and getting free time. That's where I had another band called Worst Case Scenario with Stu, and we did our demos at Silver Cloud. You know what I mean? Shit like that.
And was there kind of a little bit of a buzz with the Jonah Hexx era of your career?
Not really, because our parents liked it. But I mean, like we got just going, and then I joined Heretic. Because Heretic was already pretty big. That's why Stereo used to be all, well, we're not Heretic. That was his saying to me before he got into Heretic.
And I mean, it's been well documented in the Don't Turn Your Back, the story of Heretic film, with how that whole story of Heretic went. But can you just give me the first inklings of, again, jamming with the guys at first? I mean, Mike Torres turned into Mike Towers because of some marketing thing or whatever back then, and of course Bob Marquez and Brian. So getting into the room with them at first and auditioning.
Well, what's a trip? I talked to Mike like later on in life, and he told me that he left because he didn't like Ron. And I didn't know that. I thought he just hated us. I mean, because like when he left, I cried, literally cried. I remember we were at the rehearsal spot, and I just walked up the alley, and I was like, couldn't believe, because we were like totally just like, on the videotape, that Metal Blade one, that was like at the height of it, and we were selling out the country club, headlining, and that's killer for a local band, you know what I mean? And he quit right then. And then I remember right after that, I went to see him with Abattoir at the Roxy, and there was so many fucking people that if you walk by the door, you get pushed out the door. And that show was smoking, and I just went, he made the right decision. You know what I mean? Because I love the dudes in Abattoir too, and I thought that album they did right then, Nothing Sacred or whatever, was a killer album, man.
Yeah, only Safe Place.
Yeah. That's it. Only Safe Place.
But at first, with getting into and just jamming and the chemistry, did you start to notice like an instant chemistry with the guys? Because it's different than watching them rehearse and in
totally.
the circle.
Dude,
so.
Yeah, that's the first time I ever like let loose on stage, and like it was like natural. It was like trippy, and the shows were so packed, and then that's why I turned from chicks to dudes, because it turned into slam pits instead of chicks. You know what I mean? And it was like, the first shows are awesome, and Mike's an awesome front man, dude. You know what I mean? Nothing against Julian. Julian's awesome front man, but Mike was just like in control of the fucking crowd. I used to trip on the shit he used to do on stage,
Now, how did he command the stage different than Julian and Mike Howe? How are those three as front men?
Yeah.
How are they different from each other?
Well, like Torres was more in the crowd, like in hands with the crowd, telling them what to do. Mike could just play the whole place. You know what I mean? He was more of an arena type guy. You know what I'm saying? And Julian was, he's just like gutted the shit out. He's badass, And he's like, when he's there, he's there. You know what I'm saying? Commands attention.
And they were all kind of relatively similar in style. I mean, stylistically wise as vocalists.
Except for the hair color. Right?
Right.
Yeah. Because we like that style of music. We like that style. We didn't want someone grunting, and, I kind of like the idea of someone singing over the music instead of, even though there's people like Dying Fetus these days where I'm trip out on them.
Well, but that didn't even exist back in 1984,
no, not even.
85. So
only on like demo tapes if you're trying to like just mumble a vocal line, right? You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, or I mean,
like it goes, like
punk music. I mean, Wendy Williams.
Dude, you want to trip? I used to skate when I was a little kid, right? That was like before I did the band thing. I was a skateboarder. I skated, and my friend, this guy I used to hang with, his cousin, he goes, hey, my cousin fucking plays in the band. You want to go see him? And we were in Marina Del Rey, and I go, oh yeah, I don't give a fuck. And his cousin his uncle was Darby. And went and saw the Germs, bro, at fucking the Fleetwood in Redondo Beach, and I was tripping, dude. I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like a little kid. I was like 12 years old or something, dude. Yeah, and then after that, I went and saw Black Flag and X at the Starwood, and that shit was over, dude. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, I obviously influenced a lot of the music that came after. With the speed metal stuff that you guys were playing. I'm assuming some of that came from the punk
shit. Yeah, totally, bro. And then I moved to Orange County, and it was like weird because I lived in Torrance, right, where Stu and all these people lived. And then my parents took me to Orange County, and then when I went out there, punk was just ripping, dude. I used to go to house parties and fucking like Agent Orange and fucking shit would be at house parties. The adolescents, they'd be playing house parties, dude, with fucking slam pits going through, sliding glass windows, and it was crazy ass shit, Just trip on that shit.
And I'm assuming you went to like the Cuckoo's Nest. And
fuck yeah. I went to Esperanza High, so like Troy High is where like Agent Orange and Allison's all the from them, and like Rick Agnew and all those people from that area. It's like fucking is rad, dude, out there. And then so like I was there, and then I was jamming with these dudes in Torrance, right? And no one out there believed I jammed. It was like kind of a trip, and then I'd be all punked out during the week, and then go there a weekend and do the metal thing, and fucking I was like the aggro one in all the bands, the punk shit came from me.
And it sounds like a lot of that influence from punk music came into at least your playing, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
you,
yeah,
you
totally.
play kind of like a punk.
Yeah,
Style
yeah,
mixed.
totally. Like especially if I have a pick, you know what I mean? Because I use like pick sometimes. I still use both, but you know.
And at this point in your life, you know, how important was, and again, I've asked you beforehand, but for the record here, how important was it to get on a Metal Massacre? What did that mean for the scene? What did Metal Massacre mean for LA?
That was the launch of our careers, pretty much, you know. Because I remember, like, they came and saw us, and they said, "Yeah, we want to record you." And then I think it was that night or a night close to that, we went in the middle of the night to Track Studios to record that shit. And then the next day we came out with it, and I remember like going to the Waters Club and putting that shit on their PA, and everyone was just tripping on it. You know what I mean? And then they played it like on KLOS, and it got airplay, and then it was the beginning of our shit right there.
And knowing what you know with how to record and whatnot,
Yeah.
working with Bill Matoya.
Oh yeah, that's who recorded Impulse was Bill.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was your first and quote unquote, you know, big time kind of engineer.
Oh yeah,
Professional.
totally. Yeah, he was the man, and we used to piss that guy off, dude. It used to suck. You know, me and Brian used to just like fuck with that guy all the time, and he'd be like, "God damn," he used to hate us, man.
But what did he teach you specifically to further your jaunt into recording?
Dude, patience. That dude has like killer patience, dude, to get the best out of you. You know what I mean? Because fuck, we were out of control when we first went in there, and he like would calm us down to like. I remember one time he sat me and Brian down. He's like, "God damn it, shut the fuck up! Would you guys just fuck?" I mean, he like chewed us out, dude. You know, like, and then we finally settled down. But once we settled down, dude, you know, fucking, you know, like me and him, Brian together is killer too. It's like me and Steve. That's why the whole Reverend thing was killer, because it was like everyone just had chemistry, you know, and it's hard to get that. You know, you can't just get that shit, man.
Well, and you can't just teach that either.
No, not even. And the tones too. All the tones matched. You know, like Brian's tones didn't affect Stu's tones at all. And I remember we started Reverend, and Stu had a Mesa that used to be Vivian Campbell's. And I remember he goes, "Dude, come over here." And I went over his house. He's all, "Argh!" And I go, "Holy fucking shit, dude!" And he's all, "Dude, it used to be Vivian Campbell's." And I remember it was a Mesa he had for that shit. And that thing was so fucking gnarly, bro. It was just insane, man.
And working with Bill at first, you know, you get the recording in your hand.
Oh yeah, sorry for drifting everywhere.
No, you're
what I'm
fine. You're
saying?
fine. I'm just generally curious. In this time period, the recording's done. Do they immediately just hand it to Brian Slagle and then it's automatically on the record? Did they tell you kind of?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it came out. It was the first song on that, Metal Massacre 7, and then after that, we were like kind of the happening band at Metal Blade. You know, we used to go there. Yeah, I fucking pick up all the records they're releasing and shit.
But it was also a launching off point to where, like, hey, are these guys going to be? Are we going to be capable of signing these guys? Is this just?
Oh yeah, no, they totally offered us I think it was a 6-record deal or 10. It was like, and in those days I was like, oh, well, I don't want that because I want to get on Elektra or something. You know what I'm saying? But like now, I wish I would take that now because Metal Blade's a killer label, man.
Well, but at that time they were an indie label.
Well, yeah, they still kind of are an indie label, you know.
Fair point.
But I mean, a very large indie label, worldwide distribution, like type deal.
Right. They Metal Blade now is not the same.
No,
as
not
what it
even,
was
not
in,
even
in 1984 or
Not
5
even.
when you were signing
Yeah.
those contracts. So I mean, they were kind of using it as like, let's see what happens. Are these guys capable of?
Well, like the contracts were made too, so like if Heretic broke up, they had the option to sign us as solo artists too. So they had us like locked up. You know what I'm saying? So we were just trying to get out of the contract but I didn't know that we were going to change names because I would have just got out of it. Like we were trying to get out of it the whole time when we had Dave. We were trying to get out of those contracts because Dave's all, I don't want to do it on Metal Blade. You know what I mean? I want to do a major.
Do you think that influenced him to change the name?
No, the main thing is he didn't want to join Howie's old band. That was the main thing. I could tell by the way, he used to always stay at my house and we would just have these, heart-to-heart gut talks, dude. And he'd be all, dude, do you think I want to join his old band? I don't want to fucking, no, dude.
What did you think of Dave at first without even playing with him, hearing and,
The first thing I thought was, God, that dude has beady eyes. That was the first thing I thought. But afterward, then I was amazed that when I first started recording him in my bathroom, the tones that were coming out of his mouth were fucking amazing. He had like 3 notes coming out of his mouth at one time. Like he would come over and go, all right, dude, check it out. I got to do this. And he'd fucking whip out these steroids, spray these steroids in his eye, and then put these electrodes to his throat and start zapping his throat with these electrode things. And I'd be all, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, dude. And then before we would start, he'd be all, barely making a noise. And he'd do all that shit. And he'd be all, and I'd just scream. And I'd be all, holy shit, dude, all right, let's record, you know? And I remember we started recording, and fucking Danny Goodwin was the first one that heard the recording. He was like, oh my God, this dude sounds amazing, dude. You know, on these 4-track shit, he sounds amazing. You know, dude, he makes the recordings, Dave.
But you knew of him obviously from metal.
Oh,
Shirts.
yeah, obviously, yeah.
You know, do you remember the first time kind of hearing Dave sing on a record?
Dude, well, I remember the first time I saw and met Dave, and then the first time I heard Dave. The first time I heard Dave, I didn't know him yet. I just thought he was an awesome vocalist. When I first met him, dude, we were in Phoenix. I think we played with Flotsam or something, and we went and saw Metal Church and Metallica. And I remember I saw Ron handing him his check, and when Dave went up to grab it, he dropped it on the ground, and it flew away, and Dave's chasing his check. That's the first memory I have of Dave, chasing his check up the fucking, you know what I mean? And I thought, what a dick, you know what I mean? That was kind of lame. And then that's when they were all like abusing him. Like Dave told me later that they got 150,000 units sold for Elektra, and he got a watch, and he like told Hetfield, hey, check out my new watch, dude. And Hetfield goes, I got one of those, and went cracked the crystal on it. And he was like, fuck, dude, you know what I mean? And I was like, what a dick, you know? But like, you know, Dave told me a lot of shit like that. You know, stories like that are trippy.
In working with him, I mean, this has been kind of well documented in the film. I encourage people to go see the film we made on you guys. So obviously this is kind of going to be a little bit rehashed here, but you know, getting into and doing the Torture Knows No Boundary EP, right? It's kind of the next step in your guys' evolution. Working with a brand new vocalist, Julian comes into the fold. What about him impressed you
Not
guys?
to stop it, but what did you think of Torres on Impulse? Didn't you think he sounded pretty cool?
Yeah. I'm a Julian guy.
Are you?
I've always been. I love that EP so much. But I'm curious for you guys in watching Julian. What made it seem like this guy's the right guy for the job?
Well, you know, he's an insane frontman. And he proved that to us because the first show we did with him was the Santa Monica Civic show with Satan Saxon. We said, hey, you want to join? We're doing this show. And that's the first show he did was that show.
Oh, that was Armored Saint.
Yeah, well, I said Satan Saxon.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. And that show, he just was ripping. I mean, the first show to do 5,000 seaters, killer. You know what I'm saying?
And this is probably the biggest show that he had ever done.
Yeah, it's the biggest show I've done to date. You know what I mean? That was a rad show, man. That was like I almost couldn't believe we even did that show, you know? And it was rad because like I remember when we went there to do sound check, and they said, you guys might have to set up with your drums on the side. And I was like, oh, really, man? And they said, or this, and we put it up in the middle, and from the front of the Santa Monica Civic, it looks like it's way wide, but on stage, we had like 6 inches of room. I had to hop over the monitors to get across. You know what I'm saying? It was a trip, man.
And pretty much from that, had that EP been recorded?
No, not
okay.
even. That was just we're gonna welcome Julian. I thought it was gonna be the first of many because I was just like, dude, that show was insane. You know what I mean? Like that was awesome, man.
And going into the studio and even just rehearsing the songs, I mean, was it an instant chemistry at first?
You mean for the EP?
Well, when Julian comes in and you have a new vocalist, I mean, how was the chemistry different than say Mike Torres?
Well, for me, I didn't even really feel a difference. He like pretty much came in and just seamlessly replaced Torres. You know what I mean? I didn't even. I love Julian to this day still, but the only time we got any friction was when the EP got released and like we started getting those weird reviews. You know what I mean? That was the only time, and you know, like, and I was just like, what? You know, like when they wanted to get rid of him, I was like, why? What the fuck? You know what I mean? But then they said, well, because you know the reviews all say he sounds like, you know, and I don't want to get into that, but you know.
Right, and that's heavily documented in the film per se. But here, a question that was asked when as I was doing.
I mean, for me, I would have had Julian on the album. You know, what I mean, I wouldn't even look for Howie, and we knew Howie then too. You know.
Well, but what I'm saying is, you know, a question came up where it was, you know, back in the day, you kind of were influenced by journalists and things.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
unfortunately.
Right. So. For you though, I mean, obviously you're probably, you know, the one that's been vocal about it. Where it's like, no, I would have kept him in just because.
Well, he did nothing wrong, you know. He just didn't sound like Torres or whatever. But fuck, dude, like you know, Kerrang! Magazine was a big magazine, but fuck, it's only a magazine. You know, they don't pay our checks. They don't run our lives. So fuck them.
But do you think though, because again, there wasn't the internet back then, so
no.
They had tremendous influence just because
like
they were one of the bigger magazines, and that's all you had were magazines back then.
Yeah, that's true. But still, it's still just a mag, you know.
That's true. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, looking back,
Because I mean, it was rad. Because like with Metal Blade in those days, we used to have press days where we'd go there for Davey and Brian, and it'd be like 20 magazines. We'd do interviews all day for all Japan, Germany, blah 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 blah. We'd do that shit all day. So like that's why Metal Blade was a trip. I didn't in those days. I didn't realize what we had. I appreciate it now, though, boy. Let me tell you, like that was awesome shit back then. Even like when we would look for singers before we got Julian, right? We were looking for singers. Fuck, dude, we got to talk to Phil, from Pantera. We talked to everybody, dude. Like, Metal Blade's all, who do you want? Let's try this guy and this guy and this guy. And we're like, we could get a hold of him. Watch this, and they got a hold of everybody worldwide for us. You know what I mean? It was like a trip. We talked to a dude from Riot. We talked to everybody that was available. It was a trip, man.
Obviously, Did you?
And dude, check it out. And then from that attitude is why I said, let's get Dave. And Brian goes, fuck no, we can't. I go, dude, Metal Blade got a hold of everybody. I'm sure we could get a hold of fucking Dave, dude. Let's get a hold of Dave, because that would be the twist of the 80s, 90s or whatever, to just, and we'd end up with the, just as killer of a deal as they ended up with, dude, because I think Dave's fucking bomb, Because Metal Church was saying he's losing his voice and all this shit, right? I guess they didn't like the steroid stuff or whatever, but fuck, man.
Interesting. But, I mean, having Julian and be there locally probably was a huge benefit.
Dude, and he was only 15, I think, when he joined us. He was young, man. He was way young. He just had a kid and the whole shit,
Well, I'm saying, but because he was local, that's hugely beneficial for a band as opposed to getting Phil from.
Yeah, we look all
Louisiana.
over the fucking place and end up with this guy that lives like a half a mile from me, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was just obviously meant to be just in terms of that.
Yeah.
So the EP, I mean, comes out, and you had previously worked with Bill with the single Impulse.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was just a continuation of that relationship as far as like, except it was, what was it, a week that you recorded the EP, or just?
Yeah, it was like something like a week.
Or
yeah,
2 weeks or something?
No, it was like a week. It was quick. It was, I mean, because we had our shit together, so we didn't have to get tight. The first time we took a long time for pre-production was for the Reverend album,
So there was no pre-production on any.
Because
okay.
we were already playing live, so we just had all the shit down,
Why didn't you guys do a lot of touring for the EP? And
Why didn't we?
Yes.
I don't know. I think maybe we were afraid. Because I think when I look back on it now, we should have toured like hard on all those records, man. We didn't even go to the East Coast until Reverend. You know what I mean? I mean, we did a lot of San Francisco, Phoenix shit and stuff like that. Santa
Didn't
Barbara.
you guys go to like Texas or something like that?
Yeah, no, I didn't go to Texas with Heretic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or Arizona or something like that?
No, yeah, Arizona. We played with Flotsam and Jetsam all the time. I was friends with Jason before. That's why when he got in Metallica, because when he tried out, I tried to get a tryout with him too, but Lafitte told him that I was taken, so I didn't even get a tryout. I was like, dude, let me go up there and try out. Fuck. For Metallica or whatever. But yeah, I was friends with Jason before he got it. So when we played with him on the shows, he came in and he walked past us first and I go, oh, he's all stuck up now. And he came in, he's like, hey, what's up, man? Hey, what's going on, Because we played with Flotsam, quite a few times. And then he used to come over here and we'd headline over here and let him open for us here,
Well, and it says so much about his particular character.
No, he's a good guy, bro.
Because he never forgot where he came from, and that's kind of rare. And especially beyond that.
You know what's weird too is that's why they didn't like him, because he was like such a honest level, like fan. That's why they didn't tripped on him, kind of. You know what I mean?
But he was also not from California, so his attitude.
Yeah, but he was like he was a regular dude. You know what I mean? I just thought Metallica kind of mistreated him.
Right, but he wasn't Hollywood, is my point.
Yeah, that's true. That's
he didn't
true.
have the attitude of Hollywood.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
A lot of that kind of hindered a lot of bands. Probably back then, it hinders bands now, is having that attitude.
Yeah, what, are you saying it's a good thing or a bad thing?
No, ego kills talent. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But going back to your specific career and whatnot, having Mike Howell in the band now, it's his first kind of recording. Again, how was he different than Julian in the studio, or Mike Torres? How are they different just in terms of studio-wise? What did you start to notice just in terms of how they tracked? Or
Howie was a way powerful singer than anybody else. His stuff came from, like, I remember he was trying to show me how to sing, and he's like, no, from your gut, bro. And he'd be like, whoa. Like, you could tell it was coming from way deep, you know what I mean? And but he was like a nice guy, man, real nice guy. That's why the way he left here didn't make sense to me. I never heard that word ever come out of his mouth once. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of weird. Because right before that happened, I went and saw him at the Whiskey.
Was there and we'll get that's a great story that I want to get into. That was kind of like a bonus feature. But I'm curious at this particular point in time for you. You know, the record comes out, Breaking Point comes out. Were there a lot of tour offers at first, or?
Well, I mean, I guess they didn't tell me about any like a bunch of like ones that we just heard about because I would have took all of them. You know what I mean? The ones that we did, we just like were one offs, two offs. They were, you know, I don't think we got offered anything. You know what I mean?
So I'm curious why there wasn't a lot of touring, even though you know we know what happened, but at that particular juncture, I mean, it was not.
I mean, we just played all over L.A. opening for every big band there was. That's basically what happened. You know, I mean, we opened for everybody in L.A., man, and everyone used to hate us because of that shit. You know, they used to call us a little Armored Saint or whatever all the time.
It's a good compliment.
Well, fuck, Armored Saint's the shit, bro. I mean, like us opening for them was like the best gigs we had. You know what I mean? Every gig with them, like we opened for them in Grim Reaper at fucking the Palace, and we did a show with them at the Steakhouse in Corona with them and what was King Cobra? Remember them? And every Armored Saint show we did was just fucking killer. And I love those guys. They're awesome because I remember when they were 4-piece for Raising Fear or whatever. Yeah, that shit. I used to go to rehearsals and shit. You know, and that's when I started hanging out with Dave, and we did a lot. We hung out a lot.
And you knew Dave prior to.
Well, yeah, he came and did a Heretic demo. He brought all of his recording gear in a van and hooked it up like a mobile recording unit and recorded us in the studio. You know, he came down and did that for us. He was a cool dude, man, Dave.
But so yeah, obviously you knew him.
Yeah, that was with Torres. We did that.
Wow.
You know?
And that demo was never.
Dude, you know what? It never got mixed, so it's floating around somewhere. We did Too Much and like a couple other songs. Yeah, it was pretty rad.
There wasn't a lot of demo recordings for Heretic.
No, not really. No.
I don't even think there's one that.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. There
official
isn't.
or
yeah,
whatever.
There isn't. No, Impulse was probably the first recording we did. You know, except for that Dave Pritchard one.
Right, and that was no longer to be found.
Yeah.
So, let's get into the Reverend days, and again. I would love for you to tell the story of getting Dave, the Denny's thing. So,
we talked to Dave already because he was talking to Randy Piper, right, from Wasp, and we were like, dude, come on, just like we got the songs, bro. You know they're killer. Fucking come with us. And I remember when we had that Denny's meeting, we gave him a copy of the songs and the lyrics and shit. And then we got done with that meeting, and he left, and we went, we don't have this shit copyrighted, man. We're fucked. And he had everything, he could go copyrighting his shit, and we would have been fucked. I remember that was the main sweating after that. But then after that, he said he'd commit to us, so we were cool with that, And I remember we got a hold of him because Intrinsic, there's that band Intrinsic from Santa Barbara or whatever, but that girl, I think her name was Carrie, she got us to hold it in touch with Dave because she lived with him for a little while or something in Riverside. It was weird how we got in touch with him.
And then you subsequently met at a Denny's?
Yeah, and then he came down on a chopper. It's like really weird. It's like a Easy Rider chopper with long forks and shit, and he's like, he's a weird dude, man. And yeah, he came down, and then he lived at my house at first, and he got an apartment down here, and and the rest is history, man.
And so you were spending a lot of time with Dave.
Fucking tons of time. Yeah, totally, dude.
So, I mean, tell us at least one thing. Maybe a funny thing about Dave. It's not too.
Too
crazy, but I mean, how was Dave as a person? Because again,
he was a cool dude, man. Like everything he told us would come true came true. He wasn't a liar. You know what I mean? The only thing is, at the end, I didn't really know what he was doing. At the end, when I quit, because I blew it by quitting, kind of. You know what I mean? I shouldn't have quit when I quit, but I was trying to get into Dark Angel, and I didn't end up not getting into Dark Angel, and a whole bunch of shit happened. Then I ended up not even playing after that for a while, you know what I mean? And yeah, fuck.
Interesting. So I did not know any of this. So did Dark Angel just approach you and said, "Hey, we need"?
No, well, I tried to get in because I used to hang out with like Eric and Gene and everybody, but then my bass playing wasn't even close to good enough to being in that band. And when it's the honest truth. When I tried out for them, they're like, "Oh, fuck, dude, you suck, bro." You know what I mean? And I was like, "Fuck, I do suck." What can I say?
Well, a different kind of bass playing.
Yeah, it was like faster, like way faster, and I wasn't, I played my fingers, so.
Right, Mike Gonzalez obviously plays with a pig.
Yeah,
the dude rips.
He's badass.
Yeah,
and again, he's from the same area, bro. All those, fuck, every band, dude. You know what I mean? Is either from South Bay or North Hollywood. It's trippy, but all in LA, that whole scene.
But what about the chemistry between all you bands? It still kind of resonates. I mean, there seems like there's.
Well, I did the Dreams of Damnation record with Jim. That was during Heretic too.
Well, that was after.
Yeah. Well, it was like
fact.
right when I was in Heretic. I was doing that record. It wasn't during Reverend. I was already done with it during.
But I mean, you guys just had the chemistry just in terms of the area, correct?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess because they would headline and sell out the country club, and we were like doing the same shit, so kind of the same. Equal draw wise. They're way huger now because they toured a lot. See, that's what touring would have done for us. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right, and again, going back to the original question of were there any tours even being
we never
offered?
got offered like, hey, you guys want to tour with Dark Angel? Do you want to tour? We never got offered a tour. Everything was always one off. Like we'd play with Lita Ford or whatever, but yeah, we never got offered any tours.
Amazing.
Kind of weird, huh?
Yeah, and maybe because of the Dave connection, that's the reason why you guys started a tour. Was that?
Well, that was the reason why we started a tour. I think.
That was your first tour, though, right?
Well, yeah. Actually, the touring we did for the EP was the first touring I did. Well, I mean, besides the one-off shit. I don't consider going to Phoenix and the San Francisco touring. That's like fuck.
So you did tour then for the EP, just in terms of at least a week or two. Or?
Yeah, no, we did like the whole time. We would travel to Arizona. San Francisco. We did them a few times. We played with like Laws Rocket in Frisco a few times, and they played with us down here, and just the shit like that.
But okay, so I'm talking like a full blown, at least like a week or two. You go.
Yeah, no, we never did none of those. Not until the Reverend.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh?
And the EP that came out, to me is now my new favorite.
The Heretic EP?
No. The
Reverend EP?
The Reverend EP.
Yeah.
I just like all the EPs you guys done.
Yeah, I know they come out killer, man.
But working with Warren Croyle, completely different producer than Bill.
Totally.
So
total different sound.
Yeah. Again, how were they working?
Bill was like, he worked with like his ears and the techniques he already knew in the studio. He used all that, and he had his second engineers that all knew what he would, how he worked. Croyle was more like, hey, dude, this thing just came out this week right here, and he'd have this fucking $1,000 unit for like something or another, and he'd like try it out with us. He had all kinds of shit like that, and he was like a producer with a producer manager, right? And that was Vic Levine, who owned Amigo Studios, was his. So it was kind of like a weird. It was like a what do you call it? When you have like you can't have the same lawyer. What's it called?
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
yeah, conflicting interests.
Yeah, conflict of interest. Because like Vic managed Reverend, and we recorded at Amigo, and he owned Amigo, and he managed Warren, and Warren was all he had his fingers in everything, dude. It was all weird.
But subsequently, the sound of that EP is just so thick. And
it's sonically
rich.
like kind of crisp, you know what I mean? It's like cool.
I love when you. I think you told me you broke like how many bass strings?
Dude, well, no, for that one I didn't go through many, but for the album I went through 25 sets of bass strings. That's like mega for like every other like take I would have to change the strings. It was crazy.
Was that just because of your playing style, or was it because we needed fresh takes for the whole?
Yeah, I don't know why he was making me change that much, but I was beating the shit out of my bass. You know what I mean? And I play with my hands, so they get fried quicker because I'm sweating on them. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it,
But Warren didn't actually do "World Won't Miss You," did he?
Yeah.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he did. That was his debut album right there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because we did another Sideshow Circus or something thing, and we videotaped it, and we're all playing in our underwear. It's like really, really weird. Warren singing. It's like a trippy shit.
And you were subsequently doing pre-production. This is the first time you did pre-production for anything.
Well, you know what? I'll take it back because like Vanderhoof flew in for Heretic, and we did kind of a 2-day pre-production. But all he did was change Evil for Evil, because Evil for Evil used to be way different with Torres. And that's all they did was change that song, and they ruined it kind of.
And Kurt didn't do a heck of a lot though with the Breaking Point.
Nope, except for Steel Howie. That's about all. Right. It's
just
weird too, because when I went to go see him at the Whiskey, that later gig, he didn't even acknowledge me. I went, "Hey, Kurt," and he didn't even fucking say hi to me or nothing. It was like weird. I was kind of like, that's chicken shit, You could at least say hi, thanks for Howie or something. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, again, I don't know the history,
the dynamics of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What happened behind the scenes.
Well, like when Kurt came down here to do the Heretic, he stayed at my house. You know what I mean? So I was kind of like, well, you can't even say hi now, dude. Stayed at my fucking house. It's cool.
again, so let's. How was the reception of the Reverend stuff compared to Heretic? In terms of fan base, in terms of
Well,
hey, records coming out. Hey, now there's a music video, and hey,
yeah,
there's
straight up, Dave is Dave. So everyone, I remember, dude, like when we first got Dave and he first moved to our neighborhood into an apartment, and I remember my friends were total Metal Church fans, and they're like, "Fucking Dave Wayne is in there right now," like because they knew where he lived now, and it was like that, dude. It was like everyone was already in a Metal Church. So when with Dave, with everything every tape we did, because when Dave came to try out for us, we had a song already on 24 track with Bill producing it. That song, Well of Souls. And Dave, that's how Dave tried out for us. He came and sang Well of Souls in the studio, and I was like, fuck yeah, I've been hearing him in my bathroom this whole time, so when we did that, I was like, fuck yeah, that's Dave right there.
And that's a subsequent demo that never came out either.
I know. Fuck, man.
You guys have so much stuff that never got.
It's weird, huh?
I mean, it's recorded.
Stu probably has it. That's
somewhere,
all I can say. Yeah,
right.
it's somewhere.
It's somewhere, but it just never. It's you guys' story in terms of how much recorded material is out there. There's so much that isn't out there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it wasn't like a lot of people want everything they do out there. It was more like it was happening so fast that you didn't have time to do that shit. It was just like you're just jamming with everybody, man. It was trippy.
And explain how Dreams of Damnation actually became a band. At this point, so you left Reverend.
Well, I was still in Heretic with Dreams of Damnation. I didn't even join them. He just had me play bass on that green vinyl record.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going there on the weekends and playing bass on the because Jim liked Heretic. Him and his wife liked Heretic. So
I see. So that's the connection.
That's why I had a lock on Dark Angel, but it ended up to where I suck. So. You know what I mean? But I was friends with all those guys, Dark Angel.
So let's go to the 90s period. What were you doing specifically after Reverend in the 90s? Were you playing in other
No, not even. I just fucking became alcoholic and became homeless and, the usual story. Then after so much of that, I just got sick of being a bum, so I started getting equipment again and getting my shit back together. Like that's when I said, fuck anybody that says, I was living on the streets and then I did this record. They're bullshit because be in a band, you have to have your shit together to be in a band, you know? It's something you do on the side. It's like you can't live doing it,
And were you subsequently trying to restart playing in a band?
Well, I started playing again, and then I joined Heretic again. That was when I got kicked out of Heretic because I was all fucked up. And then I joined the Regulators and a bunch of other bands after that. Well, after Reverend, I joined Uncle Slam for like a year and a half, and I toured with them. But then I did a record with them, and I got kicked off that record because I sucked.
Interesting. So you actually recorded with
them? Yeah,
them.
Mike Blum. He was a producer, and he goes, "You're the worst fucking bass player I've ever seen." Right, and Ralph played drums on that from Suicidal, and me and Ralph got along good, and yeah.
What record was it, if you don't mind me asking?
It was the last one they just did. After Say Uncle, they did another one that's I forgot what
Not
it's
Will
called.
Work for Food or anything.
No, it was the one after that. They have 3 of them now. It was the last one they did, yeah.
Interesting. So again, I never knew you were even in Uncle Slam.
Yeah, I was. It was fun being in that band too because Amory was the drummer. And he was on the first Suicidal, and I never hung out in Venice before that. And then when I was in that band, I hung out in Venice all the time. We used to go to MIT, and you know how that area is all they're crazy ass musicians. Fuck, I became friends with a lot of people. Like Trujillo came and saw us in Uncle Slam because he was in Uncle Slam before I was. And I'm like, "What are you doing here, dude?" He's like, "I came to check you." I go, "I'm not gonna play in front of you, dude. What the fuck?" You know what I mean? It's like that kind of deal, but. Yeah, they were a happening Venice band, man. Like Horny Toad, we played with them a lot of time, man. Luigi was in Horny Toad, and that whole little Venice scene was going on.
No Mercy.
Yeah, dude. Beowulf. Fuck yeah, dude. Beowulf. Yeah.
That again, another interesting dynamic of Southern California.
Yeah, dude. Because it was a trip to one time we went to go see Sepultura at the Palladium, and fucking I was with the dudes from Beowulf, and they're like, "Dude, we could prove this how big you are now by getting us into this sold out show right now, right?" And I saw Byron Hontus from Capitol. I go, "Byron, can you get us in?" And he just handed me a stack of tickets, bro. And I was like, "Motherfuckers, right?" You know what I mean? They're like, "Fuck, dude." But yeah, Beowulf's badass too. I love them, man. They're rad. I sang around with Kevin and Rich, and
What was the turning point for you in terms of finding the right style band, and did you want to still play in a metal band at that particular juncture of your life?
Well, that's kind of like all I knew how to play, and my name was in it, so I tried, and then I wasn't, and then I started doing copy bands because I wasn't sure. I just wanted my playing to get back up, and I still do copy bands, and then I joined Titan's Wrath. That was like 5 years ago. And they're they're pretty cool.
And there seems to be a growing scene for cover bands. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. The tribute bands there's like tribute bands are way bigger than copy bands, right? Because like Sean's in like a tribute band.
Well, not only that, but it seems like being in a cover band outweighs being in an original project.
Oh yeah, almost. Well, you know why? It's because you get paid in a copy band. You don't get paid in original bands.
That's true.
That's a major thing. You know, a lot of people make a living off of copy bands.
That's true. But it seems like the nostalgia for that kind of music, meaning like a new original band is not going to gain the notoriety of like a.
Well, it's hard these days to do that. Like Turnstile, though, they're pretty fucking happening right now.
But what I'm saying is they haven't established the nostalgia.
Yeah.
But even though like, even when bands have that nostalgia, sometimes the nostalgia doesn't even do anything for the band.
It's weird because like the scene's totally different. You know, like before the stuff that mattered before doesn't matter now. It's kind of weird. It's weird, you know.
Well, there seems to be just a growing trend of like what people are willing to spend money on in terms. Again, a cover band people will spend money to go see, but like a regular size.
Well, yeah. Well, you know, like a cover band too. When you're playing a cover band, you play for 4 hours. In an original band, you pay for a half hour, right? It's a whole different thing, you know. And like the cover band I'm in, like we play all fucking heavy shit, bro. You know, like all Metallica, Megadeth, and all the not the regular songs. Like we do Master of Puppets and fucking Tornado Souls. And
but also, what one thing that cover bands have going for them is you guys play all age venues. You know, originals bands don't really have that option to play.
And the familiarity of the songs too. That's why people.
Well, that's
like
what I'm saying. The nostalgia of the music,
yeah.
Right? So, but I mean, that plays a huge role in itself, and it's why the scene's change is not having all-age venues like you guys once had at the Waters Club.
Yeah.
You know, you could be 15 years old and go see.
Yeah, I never thought about it. You're true. It's true though.
Original music.
Every place is 21 and over for original bands now.
Because everything is predicated on alcohol.
Yeah.
It's not predicated on, you know, you hire the bands to bring people to drink alcohol.
Yeah.
It's not the opposite, you know.
Yeah.
You're not advertising beer so you can go see the band.
Yeah, totally.
So tell me a little bit about Titan's Wrath and just wanting to get back out there and playing in an original band.
Well, I wanted to find something that wasn't shitty, and I didn't want to be in a thrash band. I wanted to be in a metal band again, you know. So like when I joined Titans, I didn't even go there to try out for them. I went there to just help the bass player out because he was having problems. And then he didn't show up, so I started. He want to jam, so I jammed with them, and they're like, "Fuck, dude, you want to join?" I was like, "Yeah, sure," you know, like because they were like pretty. You know, when I listened to their shit, I mean, they were young, but I was like, "Fuck yeah, they're pretty cool," you know. And then we did some shows, and they're pretty cool live. So
now, did you have an overall like inkling as far as? I mean, they're in the same vicinity as you too.
Yeah,
so
well, not even anymore, really. Like we're all spread out again, so you know.
Did you find though that it was kind of tough being in an original project in 2019?
Yeah. I mean, it still is right now, unless you're already established. You know, it's hard.
And it's obviously because of what has happened in 2020 and 2020. You know that the whole thing changed the huge.
Dude, the industry is just totally different.
Well, not only that, but people have found reasons to not want to go out or not want to. They've been giving this thing where they don't have to go out if they don't want to.
You can watch everything on YouTube, man.
Right. So they have other options. But so how are you kind of what's the word I'm looking for here? Coping with that in terms of, are you guys trying to, I don't know, have a gimmick or something?
Well, you know, it's like,
different,
it's weird. Like, I don't know. I wish you could set it up better because it'd be cool. You'd have more original shit if you could have guys getting paid for, because even when we have original gigs that are happening, we don't get any money, you know, even if it's sold out. So it's kind of like, you know, someone's making a ton of money because they're charging to get in. So, and so that makes the dynamic kind of weird. You know what I mean? That's why so many people go to copy bands, because I mean, you can make, you know, $100 a night doing being a copy band. You know.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. I don't know, because they're both. It's to get people there to drink alcohol. Same thing, right?
Right. But why does one get paid and one?
I know, it's kind of weird. To me, it's putting the emphasis on the wrong side. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should be on the original side. You know, it's kind of weird.
And how are you coping with, you know, the different kinds of ways to record, because it was different than a 4-track back then, but now everything's all digital.
My honest opinion now, it's too easy to record because it makes it so it's like no one's making albums anymore. Everyone's just releasing songs kind of, and no one's making complete projects kind of. And it's like weird because all producers got thrown out the window. Studios pretty much got thrown out the window. I can't even imagine trying to be a studio and making a living these days. You couldn't because everyone records, you know what I mean?
I don't think there are a lot of studios to begin with.
Yeah, so and that to me, that was part of the magic, man, was going into the studio with a producer and having that shit come out crazy good, you know what I mean?
Well, a lot of bands don't even rehearse in the same room, like back then there were tons of rehearsal spaces. I just got done doing a film on Sideshow, which is a Sideshow Studios in Gardena, which is a rehearsal space from Sherman Jones and Insecticide. Insecticide, another part of that whole
I produced a record for Insecticide.
They're great. I love them.
Sherman and them.
But again, the rehearsal studio almost seems like it's non-existent.
Well, we used to rent when I had a Rage tribute band for a while, and we rented a room from Sherman and Jimmy. And when they had 2 places, remember when they had 2 places? And I remember, that other place, the room we had was so killer. We put a stage and shit. It was a killer. A lot of people used to practice there too. But yeah, that shit, unfortunately, I don't know how people could jam and not jam. To me, that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, yeah, everything's done.
You got to be in the same room to jam, dude. You know what I mean? To me, like you could jam online maybe to practice, but like for gigs, that would never go for a gig because the live music is so awesome.
Yeah, I guess there are bands that this guy's coming from this place, this guy's coming from Germany or Canada, and they all meet and rehearse for a week, and then they go tour for a month.
Yeah, that's cool. So
it's totally changed in terms of how bands.
But it seems like you don't have to have like you don't have to have a history then. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's weird, man.
Yeah,
you don't have to earn it.
Well, yeah, if you're an established name already. People are just paying you for the name.
Yeah, it's a trip, man. Like, what's trippy about now is how the new music really doesn't matter. Like, everyone just goes to the established shit. You could release 10 albums, it seems like everyone still wants to hear the shit you had from when you got popular. From the era you got popular in.
Well, again, that plays into the nostalgia.
Yeah,
and
totally.
What they remember from hearing it for the first time, and it takes them back to whatever time and place.
Because before, it didn't seem like when you went to shows, you wanted, like, I kind of took, like, a privilege of knowing their new shit coming out, right? You know what I mean? And it's weird.
That only happens with certain bands now.
Yeah.
Now, if you go see Maiden, you want to. There are people that get the album and play nothing but the new album because they know that they're going to play it in its entirety. I think bands need to start kind of formulating that with their set and at least telling people, hey, we're going to play only new stuff, and then force people to kind of,
Yeah. Did you want to hear the new stuff more?
Yeah, exactly. We're only going to play new stuff.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's kind of, but then you know what happens then? And people start not showing up and they don't make as much money, so they go back to playing the old shit. You know what I mean? The nostalgia shit's stuck. They're stuck in nostalgia. Even though they're trying to live like futuristic, they're stuck back then. Like, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, and when you're making a living off of just playing in a band, it must be tough. But again, Maiden gets away with it because...
Well, like in the Dave era, we got the last of that era because we got advanced publishing in that. They don't even do that no more. You can't do that no more. You know what I mean?
Well, it seems now, though, film and television are like where it's at. And video games, like visuals are
totally.
Where bands are getting discovered. That's why I think film is so important.
Totally.
And again, that's why I approached you guys to want to do something and just see what would happen with film or get, because it's super important. Like, nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing the film thing.
Yeah, totally. Well, because it's hard. It's like a part of the media no one really has equipment for, and then
Well, everybody has the equipment. I just don't think people have the drive to get it done. It's like making a record.
Yeah, it's hard. It's way hard.
Even though it's easy to do, I just don't think people.
No,
have
it's
the
not.
drive
It's not easy to do because they just see like this part of it. They don't see all of it. The whole big picture is like everything's hard. It's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it, bro.
Well, that's why the podcast got killed, because everybody started to discover how easy it was to do.
Well, it's not easy because it matters on who you're talking to. You can't just have your friend from next door come over and just talk about nothing. Unfortunately, some people do that shit in it. That's fucking
Right.
bullshit, dude.
Right. And some of
Hate
that
that.
stuff gets popular depending on what topics that they were discussing.
Yeah.
Again, that creates the nostalgia of, oh, I remember that film. Oh, I remember that album. Or I remember so
You're
such and
hitting
such.
something if you make someone feel how they felt in that.
Right.
That's when it's like nostalgia.
Right.
Yeah.
And I felt like that with the premiere that happened, with everybody getting together in one
It was awesome.
one specific room, and I mean, for me, just as the guy who made the film, it was like really powerful.
It was cool because you created all that love in that room, dude. You know what I'm saying?
It took all of us, but I'm saying what I'm saying is that's how important film
Oh, yeah,
is, because
totally.
it could do that for
Without your film, that would have never happened, bro.
Well,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
but without the music
Yeah.
to go to the film, and now it's like it all correlates.
Yeah,
It's like
totally.
a two-way street, but it just seems like that is what can create nostalgia now.
Yeah.
Primarily, is like a film or like, and bands are getting discovered now through that, and like that's the
Yeah.
only way to quote unquote properly pay bands
Yeah. I agree.
is through like film and television and video games and things.
It's strange, man.
I mean, we'll see what happens, because I did submit the Q sheet to BMI, so they'll hopefully get everybody squared away. But
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what happens. Is that a thing? Is it whatever's going to happen when it comes to film and television, and how?
Because it's a
bands-
lot to combine together, too, to get everyone squared away straight. You know what I'm saying? Like, it might have been divided up before because of how big the actual industry is. It's
Yeah.
pretty huge.
And are you starting to see, though, a growing number of new bands in your specific area?
Yeah, there's a ton of bands, but the quality is not as good, though. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem with the recording the way it is, because the quality went down, because everyone can record.
Well, off the record, you were telling me about that there's like a whole San Bernardino, because you're from San Bernardino, but there's like
Yes,
a
sir.
whole scene of bands
Yeah,
popping up from the
that
West.
are drawing a lot of people. It trips me out. They just have their demos out and they have like full houses when they're playing. It's kind of weird.
How are bands selling their music nowadays? Besides,
They're
like
not. They're
Bandcamp?
giving it away. I think that to me, it's like you give it away and then because like we've done the Titans records and I don't think we've sold many. We have a couple thousand listeners or whatever. But look, man, it's like weird how they don't charge for music no more.
Well, yeah, it's like a business card.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it went from like the business to a business card.
Right.
It's like trippy, man.
Right. So where do you personally see music going from here, though, in terms of, is it going to have a renaissance in terms of like physical media? Is that going to be a thing? Because the vinyl thing is kind of still here, but it's not. I don't know.
Well, yeah, the vinyl. I don't get like how they canceled CDs, because to me, like you could go on past it, but why do you cancel it? Like, because they're a good way to, travel with your sounds and stuff. You know what I mean? And to store data. That's what I use it for, to store data. So I can't even buy CDs anywhere to store my data, because you know what I mean. So it's kind of weird how they just cancel all this stuff and bring new stuff and want you to just leave all your other stuff behind. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, they want everything digital, so
Yeah.
they don't have to print.
But
more.
it's like we're not having a physical copy of something, because like when that shit takes a dump, it's gone. Like now I don't have nothing. You know what I mean?
Remember when MySpace it completely went away?
Yeah.
And they deleted all the music off with the click of a button, and it was gone.
Really?
And that's what they did with MySpace.
And everyone had like their whole lives in MySpace, right? It's gone now.
Gone now.
Yeah,
so.
it's like hectic, man.
So I think that's why it's important to still have physical media, even though if nobody wants it or buys it, it's like important for you
To
have
store it,
almost like a hard drive.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? You hear like the shit now about how they discovered like 1 of your atoms is like a hard drive, and you could store over a gigabyte of shit on your 1 of your atoms and dump it back onto a fucking computer, and it still works. The ones and the zeros and shit. That's what they're saying. Like our bodies are made of the same shit, bro. It's
wow.
like trippy, dude. That's gnarly, huh? Think about that shit, man. That's fucking
Same
crazy.
kind of energy.
Yeah, same kind of they're talking like watch who Billy Carson is, right? He's talking about Anunnaki or whatever, and we're not even from here. We're just a slave race or whatever. That shit totally makes sense, bro. Totally. And we came out better than what they expected, and they estimated our life at about 120 years, and it all makes sense, bro. It's a trip, man.
Yeah, everything's poisoned and thing.
Dude.
I mean, we can go into that
whole
conspiracy
yeah,
thing.
but yeah, it's like weird. That's kind of the whole change of music is because like that. Like how they're putting everything into smaller nutshells because they want the big picture, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the truth, and they don't want you to discover that the big picture exists.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah, and the big picture's gnarly.
right.
Yeah.
How is Titan's Wrath doing these days in terms? I mean, you recently did a new record or newish record.
Yeah,
if I'm not
newish. Yeah,
mistaken.
we're trying to get to doing our album right now. That's our goal. You know, like I was saying, we're having some personal problems right now, though. But
Have you noticed an influx of like Heretic fans discovering the band because of you're obviously playing in it, or
it's
is
not
that-
them discovering it. It's like fans from Reverend and Heretic being there and then seeing me. Because like the pit dudes in Titan's Wrath trip out because everywhere we go, I know people. They go, fuck, dude, you're fucking like, everywhere we go, people hit you up, dude. I go, dude, if you do it for 40 years, you'll be like that too, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I would almost want to ask them how they feel of discovering your specific back catalog and history. I mean, and that
Well, that was, yeah, I mean, that was one of the reasons why they wanted me in the band too, you know? Because for that, I mean, it helps the band out.
well, sure,
Yeah.
but I have you seen an influx of the old Heretic fans at your shows, or is it's just
Not like Heretic fans going because I'm there. It's people that have heard of Heretic and Reverend that are there because they're there, and they'll be, oh, I didn't know you were fucking jamming out here. You know what I mean? Like,
so it's happenstance.
yeah, totally. But it's everywhere. Every gig we do, someone hits me up. You know what I mean? And we're in bumfuck Egypt, Apple Valley. You know what I mean?
Are you planning on touring with this project?
Yeah, well, we're trying to hook up tours right now, but it'll have to be self-financed, so it's hard doing that. You know, we're self-financing our records right now. The last one cost $5,000, so we're trying to do an album right now.
That seems like an astronomical amount of money just for even today, though. $5,000.
Yeah, that's how much it was, man. We had to pay like $1,000 a piece.
And I mean, but you know how to record.
Well, yeah, but I don't have the right equipment. You know, the dude from fucking Cannibal Corpse recorded the bass player. He recorded the shit for us.
Oh, Eric Rutan?
Yeah, so we fucking paid him to produce it too. You know what I mean?
It's good to have those connections. And maybe
Well, yeah, his name's on the record, so it's kind of cool, you know?
there's still value behind that.
Oh, yeah,
right?
totally.
So you're paying pretty much for the name.
Well, yeah, I mean, it helps out when you're trying to get it played, you know?
Are you guys specifically with Titan's Wrath? What is your specific goal with this band?
Shit, I don't know. When I joined it, I just wanted to get in something that was you know, kind of that mattered a little bit, you know.
Has this put value in your life?
I mean, it's cool. I mean, you know, I like helping those guys out, teaching them some shit about it, and they're fortunately a pretty cool band live, so I'm able to still do, you know, live what I want to do live to get it out of my system.
But it's also giving you the avenue or have something to look forward to, right? Because it seems like it got you out of your funk with what transpired in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I got fortunate because, like, I mean, when I joined them, I didn't think they were as cool as I think they are now. You know what I mean? Like, I got pretty lucky. They're all cool dudes, you know, which is an important thing, and the music's, you know, good. I like the music, and you know, the only thing is, like, and it's not their fault. It's the way they promote shows. They don't promote shows. They just put it on media, and that's it. It's like, dude, you guys don't call anybody or tell anybody. You know, that was the thing when we used to make flyers, and you give someone a flyer, dude, they'd be at the show, bro. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of weird, just like media. How do you know anyone looks at it? You know, put it on Facebook. Fuck, I don't.
Well, and you're not even allowed to, like, hand out flyers because of the littering laws or whatever.
Exactly,
so
man. You know, yeah, it's weird.
Sunset Strip used to, I mean, they outlawed it because of
Did they
the
really?
whole Sunset Strip thing. But yeah, it's interesting how people discover, shows nowadays.
Yeah.
It's like only on social media, but there's got to be other avenues. Record stores. I mean, there's still a
There's hardly any record
important-
stores, really. You know, I mean, it's rare to see record stores still these days. I like to, because I like tripping on records. You know what's like weird about the flyer thing? A long time ago, when we were passing out flyers, like back in the day when it was happening, Janie Lane smashed a flyer in Merrick's face. When we were both posting on the Sunset Strip or whatever, and I remember going, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing, dude?" And I ended up fighting him. Right? It's like funny when I think about it now because both of them are gone. You know,
Right.
R.I.P. Man. I like Rick Rickles as a man. But yeah, it was a trip, dude. The flyer shit was all competitive, and you know, it was like trip, dude. Flyers, but they drew a lot of people to shows though, because we used to get 20,000 flyers a show made. That's a lot, dude.
That is a lot.
And we used to pass them out. We used to go to the arenas and pass them out at the doors when people came out.
It seems expensive too.
Yeah. But
I don't know how expensive flyering was.
well,
back then.
I mean, back then Lafitte used to just come with boxes and go, here, go to the shows, pass these out. You know what I mean? And we'd be all right. That's where our money from Heretic went. And one year he asked me for my social security number, and I gave it to him. I thought I was gonna make money. He taxed me for all the years of Heretic shows, dude. Wrong, dude.
Now, I'd like to thank you for coming on and hanging with me. Let's tell some fun stories if you don't mind. You know,
all right, yeah, cool.
Specifically, because I didn't really get a heck of a lot of Rick in the film.
Yeah.
I would just like to hear some fun stories.
Dude, Rick, back in the day when I first joined, like, you know, we were like rock stars, dude. You know how rock stars, we had like a sponsorship from Long Hair Rocks, right? So like on gig days, we'd go get our hair cut, dude, and then show up. He had like a 280ZX with a convertible and shit. We used to show up with our sunglasses on, and Rick was fucking cool, dude. He was hilarious. You know, he was like, he would promote the band endlessly, and he knew like all the chicks, bro. It was a trip. It was a trip, dude. That's why I hung with him, because he knew all the chicks, dude. Rick, you know, man. It was so hot.
But he brought a lot of the business to Heretic, right? Like he would be responsible for most of the business kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, to me, I used to promote shows with him, you know, and musically wise, he was like took 4 drum teachers as far as he could teach them. So he was like killer drummer. To me, he was like one of the best ones on the scene, you know. And like I, you know, Brian said, you know, we used to go to practice. He'd be fucking practicing already, all fucking sweaty, being there for an hour already, fucking soloing to a click track, you know.
What's interesting about you specifically, and I think it'd be you, Stu, and Brian per se, is you're some of the only ones outside of Metal Church to play with both Metal Church singers.
Oh yeah,
which is interesting.
Yeah, no shit.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm curious how they work differently in the studio.
Dave was Howie was just, it's hard to explain. Howie was a nice guy, and he just did what he did, and everything was on the table. Like, he put his shit on the table. Dave, everything was always under the table. You couldn't see what he was dealing. You know, like, because like you'd go to Dave's and he'd be all, who's that girl, dude? Oh, she's a witch. What do you mean she's a witch? She's a witch, dude. And I'd be like, what the fuck, dude? You know, and he'd be all, and then she'd like get dressed and have all this weird shit on, necklaces, and you know, and I'd be, and she'd see you later, Dave, and I'd be all, like, you know, like Dave was a trippy dude, you know, he was like in the dark side of things, dude. He was kind of trippy, and he had a lot of women, you know, a lot of women, dude. He was trippy.
I love it. Well, Dennis, I appreciate you giving me a few minutes of your time to come on.
No problem, dude. I appreciate
shit.
you, dude.
And hopefully we can do this again when your new record comes out. We'll
yeah,
bring you back
yeah,
on.
fuck yeah.
Maybe Riley or something.
I'm fucking privileged to fucking call you friend, dude.
Yeah, you too, man.
Yeah,
I've been a big fan of yours for many years. Let's just
Yeah.
put it that way.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Many years during my high school days. So
Oh, you know what's funny is how, like, you know, Riley, the dudes in Titans Wrath are like from 25 to 30, right? So like they were like Riley was in his dad's nutsack still when I was in Heretic.
Well, I wasn't even born.
Yeah, you were swimming in your dad's nutsack too.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah, it's
yeah.
that trip, dude. Because Riley always goes, I wish I was in the 80s, dude, so I could check it out, you know.
I don't know, man. I feel privileged that I got to give back to bands from that time period. You know what I mean? Like, because you guys did stuff without even knowing it for me. Like, because
and plus that, if you're here now, I'm sure there's some shit coming up right now. If you're like,
well,
you know?
Yeah, but also too, like, if you have the opportunity to give back to bands that or anybody for that matter that have influenced you without you even knowing it. I feel really privileged that I got to have that opportunity.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Being
dude.
a young guy, I'm not in my 60s or 70s.
You know what's the trip is how you're like you and like Riley included, like you guys are killer historians on the situation because you weren't even alive then, but you know as much as us that would live through it. It's rad though to talk about that shit. You know what I mean? To someone that knows what's actually happened.
Well, I think it's important to just document history, and I'm a music guy,
Yeah.
so like
it was a pretty important era. You know, like you trip on like Sammy Hagar, dude. He's like been through the whole fucking thing. Dude.
Well, yeah, I mean, and we know Bill Church, his son Trevor, and he's in Haunt or whatever, and you know, so we know, you know, the same kinds
dude,
of people,
it's
right?
trip how like the next generation's coming up. Like now, like on my bass, dude, I have like the True Heroes Kid thing going on. Right, he has every other string's black, so it looks like he has like 3 strings. And my band's like, "What the fuck is that?" I go, "Dude, True Hero, bro." You know, like a 12-year-old influencing me, and I'm still almost 60. You know what I mean? It's like trippy.
It really is amazing how.
Because did you see him in Korn?
Yes.
Fucking awesome, dude. Awesome, dude. That was a shit, dude.
That's probably the last bastion of like the nostalgia acts, is like the Korns and Limp Bizkits.
Yeah.
I don't know what's gonna happen in terms of what that goes.
Because the new stuff is like real heavy, but it's like weird. It's like machine heavy.
Well, and AI is now a thing.
Yeah.
So who knows what's going to happen with
What is anyone even playing? You know.
right.
Yeah.
And you can't copyright it. So, I mean, that should have last forever.
Is it really like that? You can't
You
copyright
can't copyright AI.
it? Whoa, that's weird shit, dude.
You can't copyright it because it's not really humans playing it. What AI essentially is like all these little
They're
things.
taking all these things that you did and trying to say this is what you really like.
No. It's like AI. I'll give you a perfect example. Like AI artwork it's literally you type in something and it'll give you a picture. But that picture has already been made by thousands of people. So it's basically taking little pieces of,
Whoa, what a
of
trip.
already established artists and artworks that they're already out there.
How does it determine what's clean enough to put on there, though?
I don't know how
like,
that.
You know what I mean?
I don't know how that specific thing.
You know,
works.
like art, like AI to me is like weird too because isn't AI like in like say like maps, right? Like for example, today when I came here, it told me to go a different way, but it didn't tell me because all these things were closed, right? You know, and then like sometimes because it's AI, you'll say, "Well, I know a different way to go. Fuck that," and you'll go, but it like why doesn't it tell me why it's telling me? You know what I'm saying?
It's probably not as perfected as what.
And then there's some people that will listen to AI regardless and not listen to people because it's telling them that, and it's not always right either, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's kinda weird.
Right, but I do trip out though that bands. There's gonna become a point in time where like it's only gonna be AI music.
Yeah, dude. Like from then, and if it's in that case, do people that originally made up the licks get the money from that, or what? You know,
I don't know how that works. Like how does that work?
Yeah, dude.
And how do you know what it took it from? How do you know that?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
taking little bits and pieces of.
Yeah, it's gonna be. They're making it like so it's not a business, you know.
Well, yeah, but again, you can't even copyright. So
Yeah.
I could literally make the same. I could take that AI and do it and make my own version.
But you know, there'd probably be a difference if you played them side by side. How it would sound, though. You know what I'm saying? You don't think so?
I don't know, but again, you can't copyright it. So you could take the exact same thing and sell it 50 million times, and where does that end?
Yeah. I mean, like, and it's weird because how they took away buying records. They didn't replace it with anything. You know, they
Well,
just took it.
They're trying to replace it with digital, and digital is not.
Yeah, but how do you can't. It's hard to count that because I mean you could count it, but it made everything into like instead of like dollars, they made it into like a penny. You know, it's kind of crazy.
If that.
Yeah, if that, because it's worldwide or whatever, right? And yeah, and
who knows what's going to happen in the business? But I appreciate you, Dennis, for coming
Yes,
on.
sir.
We got to do this again. So when the new
dude, you know
time
what's gonna
drop-
happen? I bet you pretty
Right.
soon you're gonna be in music if you just like music and you're not gonna get paid for it. I bet you that's what's gonna happen. Like if you're playing music live and shit, it's gonna be because you love it and you love live music. You know what I mean? And that's probably gonna, and you're doing it because you love it, which
True.
should be the main reason why anyway, right?
It's true, man. It's true. But
Yeah.
where can people go and check out Titan's Wrath and support you?
Spotify and all the regular streaming services. We're on all that.
Bandcamp.
Yeah. And our album's called Hell's Gate. So.
I love it, man. And all self-produced, all self-financed, and
Yep.
gigs anytime soon, hopefully.
Yeah, we're opening for Anvil on August 4th at Brick by Brick. So
Okay.
come down.
So we'll get this out way before that
Okay,
time to
right
help
on.
promote it. And yeah, just appreciate everything
Thank
you
you
do,
again.
Dennis. I really do appreciate it. And we got to get you back on here. So don't
For sure.
Don't go anywhere. But yeah, we'll get you back on soon enough. But for another episode of Poppitt's Corner, guys, I would like to thank Mr. Dennis Ohara here.
Rock on,
And we'll be back soon. So take care, guys.
Peace.